Well, hello, that's me again. Today is October 6th. It's Friday. Happy Friday, everybody. And there are some thoughts for you for the weekend. And there are so many important events happening anyway, so it's time to comment on them. And we will start with very interesting situation. I couldn't, let it slide. If you take a look recently at the session of the European Parliament, the Croatian member of Parliament, Miroslav Kolakusic, in the EU Parliament says, to return to normal human values, it is necessary that CNN, Reuters, Associated Press, Deutsche Welle, and similar media fanatics and media Taliban be declared terrorist organizations because of the enormous damage they do to the normal human values. And you can look it up about his statement and about his presentation. It is there on Twitter. You can see it live, or rather in recording. So, and just to underscore this, and I will never let any opportunity pass on exposing those which I call them, many of them are war criminals directly. They really some of them know what they're doing, and evidently they have to live their life out, understanding that they will be at some point of time pursued and accused of war crimes and crimes against humanity. And you can look it up at practically just CNN and Cristiano Manpur for that matter. They all are propaganda, and the Goebbelsonian machine, which actually has its hands in in blood up to the elbows. And so, but we can go a day, actually 2 days before, and we can take a look at incredible and esteemed Alistair Crook talking to Judge Napolitana, and he talks there about the neocons, and he basically brought up the thing which I was writing for years now, that you have to understand that for the Washington establishment and neocons, but not only, very many people who are war hawks, for example, Russians, and that's what Mr. Alistair Crook says, they follow the same pattern as Ukrainian Nazis follow, that Russians are subhumans, or not humans at all. And Alistair Crook speaks about it quite, in a good length to Judge Napolitana, and this is the thing which I constantly point out. Russians are subhumans in the view of the Western establishment, despite the fact that many of those in Western establishment are uncultured and stupid people. But then again, look at the Nazi past of the combined West. So, I don't have to elaborate anymore on this issue. I just wanted you to have this understanding and to make the point that there is a very serious racial component to all that. And that's where the part of the hatred towards, for example, Russians, not only in the geopolitical terms, but it is always hidden. Now it's just in the open. So, and this will continue for a long time until, of course, we really get to the point which everybody talks about now, because Mr. Putin spoke at Valdai, and his speech at Valdai conference actually was rather remarkable. And obviously he announced the arrival of the new world order. And if you take a look at actually what he was talking at Valdai, he was making several points about the situation around the world. And as you can see yourself, he made this a startling admission. Well, startling being quote unquote, of course, because basically he stated what everybody understands and which might define the Russian strategy for the upcoming year. And he talks about Odessa, and he says very openly that Odessa is, of course, a Russian city, a little bit Jewish, as we say now, a little bit. And that explains to you that what is brewing in terms of possible Russian big next geopolitical moves. And that's, of course, Nikolaev and Odessa region, about which, as you all know, a few days ago, last week actually, Mr. Medvedev, Mr. Patrushev, Mr. Lavrov, and Mr. Shoigu stated that, yeah, Russia will grow by few other so-called former Ukrainian regions. And then, of course, Putin, who, unlike Western politicians and unlike Western media who lie non-stop, doesn't lie when he makes serious political statements. Hear what he says about the real demographic situation, and believe me, he has data on this demographic population probably better than even Kiev regime itself. And Russia has always been against Ukraine accession to NATO, but never against joining the EU. Now the Ukrainian economy is dysfunctional, which is true. The population has decreased from the Soviet 41 million to 19.5 million. And for anybody who has any basic understanding of arithmetics, or basic mathematics, it is clear that 19.5 million actually already now ran out of the mobilizational potential as far as the mobilization of their troops are concerned. And even considering the fact that there was, we don't even know those numbers of the so-called mercenaries, many of them, as I already continue to state, are regular cadre personnel of the NATO countries, including the United States. They obviously are created with the legends, what is called the undercover, that they are retired or they have vacation or what have you. They have been sent to Ukraine since the start of the special military operation. Fact is, even prior to this, because do not forget that Ukraine started to gather mercenaries, so to speak, collect them around the world since 2014. And so we don't know the actual number. We have some estimates of how many of them died. I can tell you many Americans died there, Germans, Poles, I don't know, in thousands. And when Mr. Putin speaks about the armed forces of Ukraine losses, starting from June 4th alone, Ukrainian units have already lost over 90,000 people. These are, read my lips, KIAs. Killed in action. If anybody doubts that, that it is not so, you can look up even to you can go back to RT, scroll back a little bit, I would say to September. They speak also about KIAs, and there have been number of clarifications of this, for example, in Russian major TV networks such as TVC, for example. And so you can see yourself that this offensive, so to speak, which was planned, by the way, primarily in accordance to NATO patterns, NATO standards, by NATO people, so you can immediately understand the professional level, which is non-existent, of all those planners. And then, of course, Putin expanded a little bit in terms of the other assets, like 1,900 armored vehicles have been destroyed. So basically, it's a slaughter. It was a slaughter, but now it's just, you cannot hide this anymore. It's impossible to hide. And again, I want to repeat, most of the troops which are captured or killed, or wounded, for example, of armed forces of Ukraine, they are pumped with drugs, methamphetamines, and all kinds of things, and they are pumped on a serious level. So that tells you everything you need to know in this particular respect. And so when we go to unfolding of the situation, the zone of the special military operation, we have this, of course, situation that Mr. Medvedev, Russians are keenly aware of that. Again, Americans cannot do strategy, they never could. And so basically, I'm talking about after World War II. And so basically, all those geopolitical moves are easily calculated, and there is no basically secret about them. The only secret about them is keeping the Western public brainwashed and totally ignorant, but the rest of the world clearly sees what it is. And here's what Mr. Medvedev stated actually yesterday, and it is pretty clear. The West is trying to push the negotiation process, which would contribute to the weakening of the Russian Federation at the same time as the accumulation of forces by Ukraine, he said, while visiting creating the zone of special military operation, and he says very clearly the signs that the West is running out of steam are visible. And yeah, this also applies to financing and other parts of the economic life of the combined West. And I in the last video, you remember, I spoke about the situation with the European Union, Germany being absolutely run into the ground. And again, this is just the start of the process. It will accelerate, and I don't think so anything will change in Germany, and it's probably too late. Let's hope that it's not, but I mean, it's too late, because it's even Vladimir Putin speaking to the same Valdai conference. He stated that, yeah, they're actually one of the lines of the Nord Stream still alive and ready to go. We just, turn the valve and the gas will flow if they want it. But he said they wouldn't want this because their master, the owner of Germany, which is the United States, forbids them to do so. And that brings us to the other thing, and it also brings us to the basically the position of this Croatian member of parliament, member of European Parliament, which is shared by very many around the world. And that brings us to this. And if you look attentively at New York Times article a few days ago, it was talking about that Russia may be planning to test a nuclear-powered missile and blah, 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 blah. So, and they were talking about, obviously, Petrel Burevestnik, which is the nuclear-driven missile. And they talk about that Russia previously conducted 13 known tests between 2017 and 2019, all of which were unsuccessful, according to the report from Nuclear Threat Initiative, a non-profit group focused on arms control. I can tell you what this Nuclear Threat Initiative is. Once you see Mr. Arbatov, the son of Georgy Arbatov, the former big honcho at the Institute of the United States and Canada, which is a completely discredited organization today, and you can immediately say that, yeah, you have Susan Eisenhower there too, who was actually married to Roald Sagdiev, who was a chief of the Russian space program in 90s. So yeah, that's kind of people, those do-gooders, but primarily it's kind of the exceptionalist American-centric think tank, which basically pushes the globalist agenda. And of course, no, it's absolute lie, because obviously those 13 known tests, not all of them have been unsuccessful. Actually, very many of them have been successful, and in accordance to the actually program of the tests, of which nobody knows, but I have an idea. Unlike, for example, all those political scientists who staff all those so-called non-nuclear arms, nuclear threat initiatives and things of this nature. Well, there are some physics majors there, but the point is none of them ever had any real access to anything. And here is the issue. They have been basically hedging. They have been preparing this, and pay attention obviously to the dates. 2017, 2019. 2 years. Where did they go? Where did the number of the years up to 2023, which is 4 years, go? Nobody knows. But Russia obviously wasn't sitting idly. And guess what? And that's what we have as the news yesterday, that Russia conducted a successful test of the Burevestnik intercontinental missile. The last successful test of which is final, it has to be translated as final successful test of Burevestnik, a global range cruise missile with a nuclear power plant, a nuclear propulsion system, has been carried out. That's what Vladimir Putin stated on Valdai conference. And what it means, Burevestnik is described as one of the newest weapon systems. According to the Ministry of Defense, we are talking about an intercontinental cruise missile of almost unlimited range with a nuclear power plant. So, what is this all about then? Well, I am on record that United States is long ago was the arms race, and in some technological aspects, United States is not even a competitor. It's the hard cold fact. But of course, the nuclear propulsion, and in terms of this Petrel Burevestnik as it's known, Skyfall missile, as a real military expert, Alexei Lyankov, for example, one of the chief editors of the Arsenal of Motherland, very good level expert military magazine, talks about, and Lyankov being his former officer, he also states that, you know what, this weapon is such that it actually does have unlimited range, and it actually can stay in the air for several days. At least that's what some people say. And of course, there are issues with the American military experts. They are mathematically challenged. And for some reason, they pulled this number of that its range is 14,000 miles. I don't know where they came up with. But again, if you look at the start of this video and all those CNN, Reuters, and basically American military expert-dom, which works for media, it's a bunch of shysters, most of them. All ignorant, you know, ignorant people like American generals who consult Institute for the Study of War or CNN. And the fact is, even when you fly at the subsonic speed for 48 hours, which Burevestnik or Petrel certainly is capable of doing, we don't know how much longer it can do it. People say a week or a couple of weeks, whatever. But the point is, you already will cover, even with those subsonic speeds, something on the order of 24,000 miles. So where did they come up with this number? Nobody knows. This is classic American modus operandi and Western modus operandi of basically trying to present Russian weapons by reducing their capabilities, not sometimes in percentages like 50-60%, sometimes times, like 5 times, 6 times. It's like, and when you look at this, this is the weapon which is designed, as Mr. Lyankov says, don't quote me, don't just quote me on that. You can quote Mr. Lyankov and other Russian military specialists, all former cadre officers, who say that it's actually a vengeance weapon, primarily, not only, and it's designed to such a way that actually to wipe out the remaining military installations and military pieces of equipment of the strategic significance in the United States and NATO countries, well, primarily United States and the NATO countries in Europe could be dealt with by other means, is after the, God forbids, serious World War III. And in the end, judging by the capabilities, incredible capabilities of this missile is also serves in such a way as to prevent those people, and there are many people like this in Washington establishment and London, who want to unleash World War III, that they and their families do not escape to New Zealand or Patagonia. This is the weapon which will get them, no matter where they try to hide. And the reason for this weapon will be such a way that it has the artificial intelligence elements in it. It can find targets. We don't even know what is in there. We know that it can stay there virtually unlimited time in a human sense in the air, and you cannot actually intercept it. So that was a very major announcement. And as you can expect, there is always this propaganda campaign, which, as you might remember, in 2018, during address of Vladimir Putin to Federal Assembly in March, where he announced the arrival of those 6 new weapons, at first there was a mockery, then there was and they were calling them boutique weapons, and then there was a silence. In all of those 6 weapons, United States and NATO and combined West simply have no answer. As I already stated, United States will not have anything like 3M22 Zircon, which is now being deployed on the surface ships, and next year it goes to the submarines. It will not have it for a very long time. I don't know, maybe 10 years. Now we have the situation with other types of the weapons. Maybe United States will be able to produce something similar to Kinjal. Will it be? I don't know, really. I don't think so. And of course, we're talking about other things, such as now coming up for, well, actually it is already in serial production, as 550, which is a mobile version, I believe, of A235 with the well, incredible range, and it can shoot down practically anything above up to the 600 kilometers in space. So you can see yourself, it changes dramatically in terms of the military balance. And right now we're talking about the United States not just losing the arms race, it loses it by a huge margin. It's technological margin. It's some of the most advanced technologies, especially in materials, especially in the whatever the methods of the command and control of those weapons. And I mean, I can sit here and list those technologies until hell freezes over, but you have to keep in mind these are now serial production technologies, with the probably Petrel Burevestnik coming in IOC, initial operational capability, probably sometime next year. So there you go, and you can count your blessings that we're still not in any kind of war. And these are technologies which make sure that this war is not going to be unleashed. Which brings us to the other type of the military porn, which people ask me constantly. And you know what, at some point of time I said, okay, let me address it, and I have many people say, oh, Andrei, can you speak about the, let's say, Ka-52 helicopter, combat helicopter? Let me explain. I do not talk mostly about this, you know, technological minutia, all those masturbation onto some appearances of the military technology and what they can do. But people ask, and let me give you a little bit insight into, for example, Ka-52, the same as the most of the modern Russian helicopters, be them Mi-28, be them Mi-8 IMT-SHA, and of course, be that updated version of the good old Hind, Mi-35. And here comes the issue. Remember last video I put you the picture from the combat manual of the Russian, for example, tank platoon. This is the fire ambush. It's just one example. There are hundreds of pages which of all kinds of the tactical kind of things you can do with your platoon. But if you look at this, it's in Russian. But guess what? If you have the tank platoon of 3 Abrams or 3 Leopards, yeah. So basically, very similar approaches will be used for them too, because it's kind of comes from the basic technological logic of the weapon system. And the same goes for the helicopters. I mean, if you look at, for example, at all helicopters today in the world, well, yeah, some of them have higher speed, some of them have this and that other technological gimmick or, you know, thingy, which makes them separate, look separate and, you know, distinct from others. But the point is, the same as with this fire ambush by the tanks, the basic principle of flying remains the same, except, of course, if you look at the, for example, Ka-52, and this is from Russian graphics, and you can see yourself, you don't need to really know Russian to understand what they have. The speed of 300 kilometers per hour, the range, combat range is 460 kilometers. It shows you the size, geometric, basically dimensions of this aircraft, and of course it has the on the number 3 it carries Vikhr, which is really impressive anti-tank missile, and Hermes A with the range of up to 20 kilometers. And as you can see, so the only difference of Ka-52 is because it is extremely maneuverable helicopter. It's coaxial basically propellers, that's which do not need the, you know, the propeller on the boom, which allows they counter rotate, and they allow it to be stable, and that also allows it to be extremely maneuverable. But the point is, as any other platform, you can look at its H-64 Apache. My gosh, Apache has like truckload of sensors. It has the sensors which allow you, which is called passive sensors. They allow you to detect any kind of the emissions towards your helicopter, and it allows you to take some evasive maneuvers or some other means to turn on your electronic countermeasures to stave off the, for example, attack on your helicopter. Same goes to obviously to Ka-52. And Ka-52, if you take a look at it, and in terms of weapons, they are somewhat similar to Apaches. Of course, Ka-52 carries nowadays what many people were talking about, that, oh yeah, it's not good, as good as Western helicopters. No, it is as good, and in fact is now carrying this weapon, which is also LMUR, or is called Izdelia, or production item 305. It's a fully shoot and forget Russian anti-tank missile, which could be used actually not only on tanks, on any kind of vehicles, and even their enforced buildings, just in case you have people there you want to kill. And it's a range of around 15 kilometers. It is extremely advanced missile, and as you can see yourself, it also Ka-52 carries this Izdelia, you know, Lemur, as the Russians call it, under one of its pylons. Well, it can carry 3 or 4 of them, I don't remember, you can look it up, it doesn't really matter. But the most important thing, obviously, for Ka-52 is that it is an extremely advanced helicopter in many respects, and you can see the cockpit. It has side-by-side position of pilot and weapons operator and navigator, and it has a very, very good infrared, FLIR, and things of that nature. But latest modifications, which are, let's say, 5 or 6 years old now, of Ka-52Ms, they are fully net-centric. They are capable to basically run the group of the helicopters, of the unmanned aerial vehicles, and other combat aircraft, including the planes, fighter planes. So this is an extremely advanced architecture of its avionics. And then, of course, we have this thing. And this is thing I already spoke about it. I showed it to you a few dozen videos ago. The things which you see here in the red squares are called the countermeasure system VTEPs. 2 things which are underneath the body of Ka-52M are called balls of life. They are infrared and laser dazzlers. They are lasers, essentially, which can dazzle any kind of the missile with thermal or any kind of other guiding device. And as you can see yourself, it has all kinds of sensors which sensor even the start of and they see the missile from the manpad. That is why VTIF is so effective. And as you understand, the American press and Western press was basically following the BS which was provided by the Ukrainian regime in Kiev, who said like they shut down what, like 40 Ka-52s. Obviously, none of it have ever been confirmed. Russians certainly did lose some of the helicopters. A few of them, I mean, you can count them probably on the fingers of, I'm talking about Ka-52, on the fingers of one hand. And obviously, VTEPs, this system works extremely well. And of course, when you look at the weapon suite on those helicopters, you can understand that this is extremely advanced helicopters. And you can see, for example, VTEPs even on the MIL helicopters, which is Mi-35, which is also fully digitized, and you can see yourself VTEPs sensors and those proverbial balls of life on it. And yeah, this is an excellent system which proved itself in the combat conditions no Western helicopter ever encountered. And that's the point. And this is the point that which have to be constantly conveyed, because people have to keep in mind the scale and the dramatism, basically, of this war. And VTIPs and helicopters which are equipped with this, including actually there are other things which similar function which are called president. For example, Russians have the Mi-8 IMT-SHA sometimes following the other combat helicopters, and Mi-8 IMT-SHA carries with it the president countermeasure system, which is extremely effective also. So in combination with the VTIPs, that is why they cannot shoot them down. And again, Russians are not idiots. They don't throw helicopters just because because they want to throw them into something. They really know how to use it tactically and especially operationally. And this is the thing which I'm on record constantly trying to explain to you, that when you have people like this, and this is one of those guys or boys who write, for example, in Newsweek, how's Russian K-52 Hokum attack helicopter compared to Western equipment? Well, let me tell you, it's much better than it is. And I'm talking, and its combat record is something, I mean, no Western equipment can even compare to it. They never saw anything like this. And then, of course, you look at who Jack Dutton is. You see that he's a pretty good boy from somewhere. His focus is reporting global politics and international relations. He has covered climate change, foreign affairs, migration, and public health extensively. He also probably covered the lingerie of Meghan Markle. But point is, when you look at his CV, you can see yourself. This is the guy who writes about those things. And as you can see yourself, he actually graduated University of Sussex, actually psychology, and master's degree in magazine journalism. So yeah, there you go. So as you can see yourself, he has all qualifications to compare combat performance, which nobody has access to except for the Russian general staff and the staffs of the units or formations of the combat aircraft Russia uses in special military operation. But this explains to you why this Croatian member of European Parliament comes out and says that, yeah, it is basically informational Taliban. Yes, Western corporate media are informational Taliban, and again, as already stated, they have no real experts. And you know, I look at I have to repeat it again, and forget about journalists. Basically, anybody who has their degree in journalism from Ivy League or Oxford has to be disqualified for any kind of sensible work, because they don't have any, let alone going and comparing anything in terms of military hardware and especially its tactical and operational usage. But we will look at those military experts, which are former cadre officers speaking today all over the American or European media. My God, we are in trouble. Those people have no clue. And even those kernels of the common sense or even professionalism which pop up here and there, they cannot anymore cover this fact that many Russian military professionals look at it in shock and awe when they recognize that they are dealing with amateurs, essentially. But then again, I'm on record. So this is what I wanted to tell you guys today for the weekend. And as always, those who like what I do, please subscribe to my channel. And those who can afford, please support me on Patreon or buy me a coffee or two. And I want to wish you just happy and good weekend. And I'll be talking to you later, guys. Bye-bye.